Now I'm going to get into a little bit of quantum physics. Where you're going to get the physical external changes is from doing the internal shifts. And that means working with your consciousness. You can work with all these talk therapists or all these talk coaches, and you can learn business strategies until you're blue in the face and you could still not be successful. In fact, you don't even need to learn business strategies like, should I advertise on Instagram or Facebook? And what's the ad spend ratio to response, blah, blah, blah. You could fill yourself with strategies. And I see so many business owners doing this, and yet they don't have the bottom line confidence, courage, and a willingness to receive and worthiness to have their business be seen, have clients see them and view them as a favorable service and want to invest in them and invest in them in their working with them at a higher rate than the normal market average.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Coverbadge of OmarCoverbadge.com. As always, appreciate you joining me, listening into the new and good in the health coach space. And today we're talking about my favorite topic of all time, and that's money. So one of the things that I think that all health coaches could benefit from, I shouldn't even just say health coaches, everybody can benefit from this, is just getting our minds wrapped around money. And now this is going to be an episode that's a little bit in the new agey kind of philosophy, I would, if you, for lack of a better way of putting it. But yeah, I think this is something that a lot of us can tap into and potentially have it really motivate us and get our businesses booming to receive money. So today's guest is Dr. Alison Kay, and she is an award-winning international bestseller, author and founder of the Vibrational UPgrade System. So she's going to talk a little bit about that, some about the perspectives and some of the journey that she's been through, which is really quite fascinating. She's really been around the world and has developed a bunch of perspectives that I think are relevant to the approach that she has towards money and abundance in general. So really excited to share her with you. As always, please leave a rating and review so I continuously get guests like Alison Kay to jump on the show with us and help us out in so many different avenues. As always, too, please take a look at the website. Course is up. I'm actually going to be putting a video promotional marketing video on it. So I want to get some feedback. I heard some good stuff about it so far. I'd love to hear what you think about it. And of course, if you have anybody who is interested in purchasing a course that's going to help them build business boosting podcasts, this is the course. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Doc, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hey, Omar. I'm excited for this talk and what we're going to do together in the next bit of time.
Oh, yeah. Listen, this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite topic, and it's something that I personally go through a lot. It's, these limiting beliefs around, money, and sometimes the entrepreneurial journey has a lot of difficulties on the way. And I know that you're the master of unraveling some of this. So I'm really excited about that. So I want to just jump into it right away because I think that you have so much to share. And then we have a couple of interesting things that we're going to be doing on the show momentarily. So yeah, I want to just see your position right now as far as I feel that you do feel like humanity's going into a different evolution, and it's going to be a strong leap. So what do you feel like as far as and seeing like your roles that health coaches have in that transition specifically?
Big question. Let's go to it. So I was already giving energy medicine sessions and holistic health and wellness sessions as my side gig alongside classroom teaching. And about 2.5 years into that, I was having really great results with one of my earliest clients. We were like in session number 3 of a package of 10. And we were both really super stoked about the results that I was able to get for her. And so I remember looking up to the ceiling with my hands over her womb area. Hey, how can I get even more robust results for my clients? This is great. And so around the same time, I was sitting at my kitchen table. It could have been the very same Saturday. And I was pre-digital banking, balancing my checkbook, and was not stoked there about what I was seeing. So, and I didn't have high-end needs. I had basic housing, basic car. I did want organic produce, which was more expensive at the time. And I did want a massage per week, which I consider preventative health 301. But I wasn't living like, a high-end demanding budget, and I still couldn't easily make ends meet. And so that wasn't okay with me. I had already lived in different places around the world as an expat and had a sense of adventure. And I felt like there was this cage that my society was saying, it's okay, this is what we expect of you for the next 3 decades of your life, and then you'll retire, and then your real life will begin. Like, I just had a sense of adventure and abundance and wanted to maximize my time in my body on this planet. So I did my usual asking, okay, so how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? And in a month's time, a colleague introduced me to the international school system. I ended up doing what I had to do to get to the place where all the different heads of the schools from all over the world flew in. Candidates like myself flew in, did all the interviews of the countries I wanted to work in, and chose, after a bunch of job offers, the Far East from us here, position in America, in North America. And so I went to an international school in Taiwan. I was there for a decade. I continued doing my side gig of holistic health and wellness sessions and energy medicine alongside classroom teaching and administrative career, and just did a ton of research. I'd go and get traditional Tui Na massages every week and reflexology. And with my Chinese that wasn't perfectly fluent, I would ask questions about, like, so what does this mean when this happens? And then going to monasteries and talking to monks about meditation. I was teaching meditation in the classroom. I had already been teaching and meditating myself at that point for 10 years. And what I'm getting at is I ultimately increased my net cash flow by 60%. And then I also gained a heck of a lot of firsthand experience of the science behind energy, the subtle energy system, and how consciousness works and how they interact. And for my PhD, I was writing what I thought was going to be my dissertation that became a nearly 400-page book for my first of 4, What If There's Nothing Wrong?, where I realized in the writing of it where I was getting taken, because I followed my guidance. I didn't just project onto the writing what it had to be about. And so what I ended up learning was, one of the things, oh my God, man, if we in the West only understood how subtle energy and consciousness works, we'd have so much more thriving. And so that became a mission. I came back to the States after that decade and dropped the part in the full-time gig of professional teacher administrator and took my side gig full-time. And a year and a half into that, Voice America approached me and asked me to do a radio show for 2.5 every week, which I ended up doing for 2.5 years. I didn't know why they were approaching me, because they wanted me to do a show about the Mayan galactic alignment on December 21st, 2012. And I hadn't been doing anything at all related to that public facing in my business. I live in the west coast of Florida, and so I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump from the Mayan ruins in the Yucatan over the Gulf of Mexico, an hour flight. So I had been taking clients on private VIP retreats to different Mayan ruins there, but that wasn't public facing. Anyway, I said, give me 48 hours, and I felt it out intuitively, got a yes, did it, interviewed a bunch of experts about the nature of what December 21st, 2012 actually meant. Ended up being a specialist on a cruise to Chichen Itza. We got special permission to be with a Mayan shaman conducting ceremony right at Chichen Itza on December 21st, 2012. And I was barefoot. My feet were getting electrocuted nearly from the amount of energy surging in the land there. And I had just been there a year before barefoot with a client, and the ground wasn't doing that. And when I was there on December 21st, 2012, there were a ton of TV crews. I had a client as far away as Poland tell me they had seen me on TV, as well as friends and family in the States, because it was such a big deal. And so what I came to understand about the nature of the times we're in, not just reading a book, is why I just went into that 3-minute diatribe, is it's considered humanity's greatest evolutionary leap. And my publisher knows that this is such a main focus of my mission that he demanded I get an extra wordy title and subtitle for my second book, which is Vibrational Upgrade, A Conspiracy for Your Bliss. That's where I was done. And then he said, you got to add in easing humanity's evolutionary transition, because it's such a major part of my gig. So what I understand is, it was not only the Mayans that saw the end of a 26,000 year era in 2012, not end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yogi Bhajan of the yogic community also understood that in 2012, there is the end of one yuga, which means age in Sanskrit, and the beginning of another age. And then the professional astrologers understand that in 2012, it was the ending of the Piscean era, basically, and walking into the Aquarian age.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've stood under, and so let me do it this way. This first decade, which we're done with, COVID was like the tail end of kind of like the big final push of the cleansing and purging that was happening. So for people who got super sensitive to laundry detergent and needed, there's like new laundry detergents for sensitive skin, and people who got sensitive to bacteria. Now there's antibacterial soap, and people who started to have tinnitus, which is another common complaint. It's all because it's considered humanity's spiritual awakening times. And so we're awakening, and our skin is our major sensory organ. And so we're awakening to a higher version of ourselves. And the first decade from 2012 to 2022 was all about cleansing and purging us as well as the earth. And this next decade that we officially just started with the equinox, when we recorded this just Monday, I just came back from a trip to another sacred site for this equinox. It marked basically the formal ending of 2022 and the ending of that first decade of cleansing. And this next decade, right out of the gate, the cosmic alignments, which I started to say, I've been standing under the stars. My guidance has been since I came back to the States at night to just stand under the stars. These are such special times. And to just, I do certain energy processes I know to do to receive an impression that I can then unravel and integrate consciously during meditation of what is coming, what are the nature of these times. And then I've also consulted with, experts and follow a couple of reliable, trustworthy professional astrologers. And I can see who have the same worldview or along the same lines as the same worldview as me. I can see like there's a conspiracy behind the planetary alignments. Like right now, coming out of the gate, there's an alignment that starts on the 23rd of March that's going to be here for 7 generations about, the American Revolution and the French Revolution both occurred under the same alignment. And this alignment hasn't happened since 1776. There is just so much bravery, courage, energetics for us humans to have more of those, as well as I call it a vibrational backdrop, because, whether we realize it or not, for example, every chakra is connected to, if not a planet, a constellation. Particularly the crown chakra, which is why the crown chakra has 1,000 petals around its symbol. Every chakra has at least 4, which starts with the root. And I don't think at all chakras, if you think back a couple of minutes ago to my intro, are woo-woo. I don't even believe in that term. Over half the rest of the planet understands the importance of the invisible over the physical. We're still kind of coming to terms with that in the West.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the chakras, when you hear that word, please don't check out or turn off, because they're power centers where the mind, the body, and the spirit intersect. And for me, it is the most reliable system, to the point that I teach it without going into examples of other ones, other than like the metaphorical thing that I think a lot of beginners do. Oh, if my knees or your knees, oh client, are hurting, that means you have a fear of walking forward. Those simplistic metaphorical interpretations are just not reliable. Whereas from knowing the chakras and what are the aspect in each of those flowers, petals, the lotus petals are an aspect. So like the 5th chakra, which is the throat, one of the aspects, the whole thing at the bottom, what I call the first level, is all around communication. The whole second level, which I feel like has come online as the second power center for these times, is your capacity to choose. That's one aspect, or one lotus petal. Another one is courage, which is a main aspect to be able to make new choices. Another one is clearing out where you feel limited, where there aren't any choices, like a mom who is the main breadwinner of a family with a husband, who she stays in a job she hates for the health insurance to get her kids covered, feels like there's no choice. And so that shuts down the vital life force energy, or the chi, or the prana, to circulate, because chakra means wheel, in that area of the neck, the throat, and the thyroid, because every chakra is connected to a major hormone, as well as every main gathering of nerve plexi along the spinal column is where one of the chakras is. So that's our two main communication systems, electrical and hormonal or chemical. But what I'm saying and what I'm getting at is it is a science. And that was just a few examples to help you see just how much in depth the actual learning about our systems at a more subtle level that impacts our physical health, where it can take you and some of the information you can glean from it. So in understanding that we are influenced indeed by what's happening vibrationally around us, we are being commanded to evolve. We are being commanded to recognize our power to choose, our power inherent in our choice, in that we make the choices we do based on the points of view we hold, but specifically for my decades of work doing this, where we don't hear the thoughts, so that's subconscious and unconscious. Because the thoughts you do hear, that part of our minds that we observe in a meditation practice, we're not making the majority of our daily choices from. So if you want to move beyond feeling like you have to get more training and you're not good enough yet to launch your business, or you haven't completely healed your own health issue, which is why you became a health coach to begin with, and you have to get that healed before you have the right to speak about it, all of those are limiting beliefs.
I like that, because that's one of the issues that I think we have a lot to unpack, because again, they think that because we may have not completed our journey, we don't know enough to impart that wisdom onto somebody else. I like to always say, like, as I learn, I like to share, and then if I learn something new, I'll update what I know. And that was always something I think that was beneficial for me when I was, putting it on my clients. And I think a lot of people think that there have to be this pinnacle of understanding that just never comes.
No, and I think people put way too much pressure on themselves. Check it out. I mean, when I came back, I had been tucked away in Asia for the market crash in 2009. And I had, as I said, increased my net cash flow by 60%. So when I was doing workshops, what I expected, and were topics, I expected to be able to be teaching about spiritual enlightenment, holistic health and wellness. And because I also got trained as a yoga teacher in India, Qigong teacher. I mean, I could go on and on. I won't. I have 5 different energy medicine modalities under my belt. I have specialty training in certification as a behavioral change specialist. I'm a personal trainer, blah, 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 a lot more. But point being is that when I came back, I expected to be teaching on those kind of topics, workshops. And what I realized really early on was that people weren't receiving what I was talking about. And I was like, okay, why? So I asked a couple of key people who I knew I could trust for honesty and not, just flowery, oh, it's great kind of responses. And then I listened to my guidance and asked questions under the stars and listened during meditation. And I understood that people were still worried so much about money because of the market crash that they couldn't receive what I was talking about. So I unexpectedly became stupidly, ridiculously proficient in clearing money blocks. So I now, and wow. So I remember too, my very first coaching I ever got coming back to the States, having dropped the full-time classroom teaching and relying now on this, what had been a side gig for my full-time income to put a roof over my head and generate my income. I took this online coaching gig with a couple of women out of California. And one of the things it said to me was that, and this is in 2010, maybe 2011, all of the natural health schools are pumping out all these practitioners with really, somewhere from good to decent to excellent training, but none of them have business or entrepreneurial classes. Mm-hmm. So these sisters were offering a course basically focused on, how do you step into business? And so, I mean, I have that signature program called Magic Manifestation and Money Flow nowadays to help, and I've had it since 2016, to help people clear out their money blocks and get clear with their. One of the main areas I feel, Omar and listeners, is the expectations you have of yourself. And that then secondary to the primary foundation of what definitions you have of who you're supposed to be, all in air quotes, as a health coach, and who you're supposed to be as an entrepreneur. And those definitions you don't hear. I'm not saying you can sit down and write an essay. I am supposed to be as a health coach. It's not. Mm-hmm. These are thoughts you don't hear. And a lot of the times, it's fascinating for me to watch people, particularly women, but men too. Like there's an American conditioning in particular about like, I have to prove myself because like I have a guy who runs my ads on Facebook and YouTube, and he is Indian born, lives in Amsterdam. And I was having a conversation with him last week, and I said, in America, we have this thing, and I learned about it when I was writing my first book, looking at us as a colony, like we had to prove ourselves so that we could pull away from the crown. We had to do our own textiles. We had to learn how to do our own tea production and get our own tea and et cetera. And so I feel like what I came to learn from living the contrast of being over outside, I mean, my hardest cultural shock was returning to the States after that decade away, is it's proving ourselves. And so what I said that to him, and I said, so we're like taught to be like hyper productive and achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, as the greatest nation on the planet, I don't get that. I don't see America that way. I'm like, well, you haven't been programmed with the conditioning. You have different conditioning as an Indian from India. Mm-hmm. And he didn't like the idea because he couldn't see it. But I feel, but that sense of like the measurement of an American from what, and it's changing in part due to all the work I've done and like-minded new thought leaders are doing. And we are continuing to pound out there that, it's not the external measurements only of, your profit margin. It's obviously how much you grow, how much your client gets out of it, but a lot of people who want to help other people tend to be softer on others and harder on themselves, which means you'll likely undercharge, you'll likely trade or gift, you'll likely not be driven by your profit margin. Instead, you'll be driven by your client's results. And then that results in a whole lot of unconscious and subconscious thoughts, definitions, conclusions that you don't hear that cause you to struggle more financially and in growing your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, listen, you're knocking it out the park with a lot of what I think that you said in programming. And I think that's really what the problem is, because especially when you're starting out, and that's kind of what at the beginning of the show, when I started recording, I guess now it's 3.5 years ago, it was, what do you do? Like the first step that you have to overcome, considering like the business thought out there, if you don't get any training in your certification programs, is to, I got to find a niche. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I think that's really where a lot of the problems stem as well. But if I'm hearing you correctly, we probably should look at this money situation pretty early before we even start going forward in any entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah. And then continue to get the work. And I don't mean talk coaching. I don't mean intellectual talk therapy. That was my first major in college, was psychology. Mm-hmm. 3 semesters in, I was like, you're not teaching me how to be the happiest, most thriving version of myself. You're focused on the hardwiring and how to use it in industrial management for capitalistic gains. No, thanks. And I left, and I've been looking at the holistic model ever since. And so where am I going with this? In the beginning, the money blocks, focusing on the money when you first start. Our greatest power is in our point of view. Whether you are aware of a conscious point of view you have, like towards group sports, or you're unaware of a point of view you have about how much you should give in a session, or you have an unconscious conclusion of how worthy you are to receive, how much, or another unconscious conclusion, or how much you are worthy of receiving for success. How much are you willing to be seen? How much should your business be visible out there? And there's all of these hidden conclusions. I keep repeating this sentence over and over again, that if you attend to it all the way through, because there's increasing levels you're going to want to get to with your business. For those of you who are just starting, you're always going to want to be expanding. And so the way to do that is to work on your point of view, particularly the ones you don't hear. So there's these stats out there. 85% of our daily choices are made from our subconscious and unconscious level, which means 85% of the choices that we each are making daily is from thoughts we don't hear. Now, from all of my decades doing this work, I see it's more like 95% of people's daily choices. Yeah, thanks, Omar. I heard that right away, that agreement.
Yeah.
It's from the thoughts you don't ever hear. And so you, like when you learn to drive, you probably say, hey, you don't say, hey, but you put the car in reverse. Okay, put car on, and put foot on brake, put foot on gas. And you don't say it out loud anymore because you need the bandwidth up front in the conscious mind. So it gets lodged into the subconscious. Our minds and brains are a bit efficient in some ways, but where you're going to get the physical, now I'm going to get into a little bit of quantum physics, where you're going to get the physical external changes is from doing the internal shifts. And that means working with your consciousness. You can work with all these talk therapists or all these talk coaches, and you can learn business strategies until you're blue in the face and you could still not be successful. In fact, you don't even need to learn business strategies like, should I advertise on Instagram or Facebook? And what's the ad spend ratio to response, blah, blah, blah. You could fill yourself with strategies. And I see so many business owners doing this, and yet they don't have the bottom line confidence, courage, and a willingness to receive and worthiness to have their business be seen, have clients see them and view them as a favorable service and want to invest in them and invest in them in their working with them at a higher rate than the normal market average.
Yeah, no, listen, I think you're on the money. I agree with you completely. I'm curious about a couple of things, especially when you were just saying like the thoughts that are in our mind that we don't hear. If you can explain that portion, because I think I love to get into the subconscious part of things. And what's the mechanism to unpack some of these things? And like being that we don't even recognize it, I'm just curious of your method on how you do unpack this for your clients.
So I run my energy medicine clearings and activations on them. I don't, because this is a podcast interview, I'm talking a lot. But I normally will just run clearings on people. I mean, who gives a crud about my opinion? Let's just get people shifted is how I operate, and when I'm working with somebody, I'll lean into, I have this incredible intuition. I was gifted with it and I didn't even realize it at the time. And I spent my whole life like learning how to cultivate these gifts that I have for my direct connection. So many people when they first start working with me, they're like, Dr. Alison, you're the real deal. Well, they're not even working with me yet. They're hearing me like, on some like this. And they're like, oh my God, she's a real deal. I remember the first time I heard that, Omar, I was like, what? I don't even understand why you would say that. Of course I am. I mean, I do what I do works. That's why I keep doing it. Otherwise I'd do something else.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, what? So why I say that is because I'm a bit different. And you got to get right to the parts that you can't see. Otherwise, you would have already been at the level you want to be with your business.
So I understand. So yeah, definitely different methods. So this is totally different from, like I said, you go to a typical therapist and they kind of draw it out of your head to say, this is what you're lacking. You have an ability to say, receive money. You just think you're not worthy. You don't even go into that. You kind of do something that's different as far as just activating it in your own method. In other words.
Well, it's based on science. It's my own method based on so I created Vibrational UPgrade System, and it's half my background as a yoga and meditation teacher and knowing how the mind works, and my Western psych background, because I then ended up teaching psychology and AP psych later in the classroom. And so the other half is from the energy medicine training I have about how to access energy, which is in a way translatable to the word consciousness. Mm-hmm. That's the other half of Vibrational UPgrade System. So consciousness, you asked me about the silent thoughts we don't hear. It's the example of the driving, Right. So also when you're 0 to 2, let me help with this. Let me help you with this. Age 0 to 2, we are the same, feeling the same thoughts, feelings, and emotions from our parents. We're not separate. Age 2, that's when, the terrible twos with the no starts. And because we're starting to form our own separated ego identity in the meditation and Buddhist world, which Buddha just took the meditation chunk out of yoga and traveled throughout Asia. And we have Buddhism, which is only the practice of meditation. So when you are, I just lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you talk about from 0 to 2, and
Thank you.
yeah,
So we call it ego mind, because in Buddhism, because in meditation practices, because it's the part of our minds that is attached to the personality level of ourselves. Like when somebody points to you and says, she's like that, or points to you and says, he's like this, like that observable, almost judgmental kind of projection onto somebody we can observe about their personality type. That's the ego mind. There's parts of our consciousness like the super consciousness or our higher self that connects to the higher parts of us and our guidance and our divine connection, our connection to the divine, in other words. So I say all of this because from 2 to 8, then we're busy on the planet trying to understand how to do life and how life works. And so we'll sit down maybe at dinner at age 4 and we'll notice our older brother coming back from school with a really great report card. And we'll see dad giving this great smile and mom giving this great hug. And we'll be asking the question, well, how do I get those good feelings?
yeah,
And so we'll have the conclusion, well, he just did really good in school. So I guess if I do really good in school, that's how I get that kind of yummy. And we wouldn't call it approval at that time because we don't even know that that's what we're saying we want. But that then becomes a conclusion at the unconscious level. In order for me to get approval, I have to succeed academically, which could then translate into an overachiever or a perfectionist. So unraveling these parts of ourselves, like I can have somebody come in, like, I mean, I could do it right now. What time do we have? I could do one right now. Let me lean in.
yeah.
So I feel there's a lot of people who are frustrated, like they've hit a wall, who are listening to this, and they want their business to expand more. So this is going to be addressed for everybody, all listeners. It'll come to you at whatever level you need it. And if it doesn't apply to you at all, it'll go right around you. It's just a beautiful way that spirit works. I am going to be silent for a little bit. When I say a little bit, it's under 30 seconds, but I just don't want you to think that you've lost the connection. You are likely to yawn or get spacey. So if you would please pull over to the side of the road if you're driving, trust me on this, y'all. Or like if you're tending to an infant or an elderly person, please just, I don't know, stop.
Yeah. Pause and come back.
So let me just listen to how best to frame this. I'm going to frame it in a question format, Omar and listeners. So you'll know when to say yes, because you'll hear me stop talking after asking a question. And you're just going to want to say yes, because it gives your conscious consent for the energy to come to you and do work on the silent parts of you that has the beliefs I've been talking about this whole time.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to say a couple of ones out loud until it sticks, until I feel it stick. I can't get much more business than what I currently have. I'm not worthy of earning more than I already am. I'm stuck at this level because I don't know how to market or do business. Oh, that was wicked sticky. I don't know enough about business to have my business flourish. That's it right there. Okay. Omar, you wanted me to do the money one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do that.
The money.
All right, so let's go back to that one. So I can't have I'm unworthy of, I don't have the right to receive more money for what I do. I'm unworthy of receiving more money for what I do. It feels more like I don't have the right to receive more money for what I do. And I realized part of my whole mission for the first 10 years of being back from Asia has been to, what I said, educate over and over in all different ways. If we only valued the subtle energy system and consciousness more, we'd have so much less thriving. And nowadays, in great part because we're also in humanity's spiritual awakening times, there's more meditation apps, there's more yoga studios open, there's more people talking about chakras, there's more an understanding of energy medicine. COVID helped a bit with that too, but the point is that opening of more people valuing something outside of pharmaceuticals and surgery in the Western medical model, I've been helping a lot. And so what I hear a bit is there's an undervaluing of what you do, and some of that comes from childhood, undervaluing of you. And then there's an undervaluing of the societal conditioning of the health coach versus like being a doctor with a degree.
I mean, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of health coaches find very difficult is putting themselves up against like that prior authority, which is, the doctors and big pharma particularly. And what's cool is that I think COVID helped in that because so many people are seeing that that wasn't the way to go and they're looking for alternatives.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we go. I wonder what the version of you looks like where you believe you have the right to earn more money with what you do. Anything and everything that doesn't allow for that, are you willing to burn up with the flames of transmutation? So you say yes.
Yes.
Can I be silent for a moment? So any and all traumas and their ensuing free-floating thoughts that in any way are limiting you from finding out the version of yourself where you know you have the right to earn more money and you believe you have the right to earn more money with what you do. Burning all those traumas up that are hindering this. All imprints from your parents and lineage, or ancestry that's limiting you from believing you have the right to earn more money than you currently are with what you do in your business, burning those imprints up. All conditioning from the trance of the masses, burning all of that conditioning up that's in any way limiting you from believing you have the right to earn more money than you currently are doing what you do with your business and in your business. Burning all that conditioning up. Now we're going to all karma as appropriate, burning all that karma up. And across all timelines, lifetimes, and dimensions, any and all contracts, oaths, vows, or swearings you've ever taken or made that are limiting you from believing you have the right to earn more money than you currently are, way more money than you currently are, even with your business, burning all of those up. And now at all levels of consciousness, all the beliefs, the definitions, the evaluations, the judgments, the calculations, the hidden or secret agendas, the expectations, and then the projections you have. Burning up anything and everything, whether named or unnamed, that is in any way limiting you from finding out what the version of you is going to be like, who totally believes you have the right to earn way more money doing what you do within your business. Burning up anything and everything that isn't allowing for that with grace and ease now with the flames of transmutation. Good. Let's go ahead and activate the upgrade now. So any and all latent keys and codes within you, prosperity codes and wealth codes, success codes, affluence codes, abundance codes. So any and all keys and codes within you, inherent talents and ancient wisdom within you, and any and all blessings and support possible to bring this all into alignment for your highest potential and your highest possibilities to become physically realized. Activating the upgrade now. Lovely. So some of you may have been yawning, you may have gotten spacey, you may have felt heat in an area of your body, you may have had goosebumps, you may have had tingles, you may have had a sudden momentary pain. What you can expect, and if you didn't feel anything or notice anything, all good too. Everybody's at different levels of perceiving and receiving. And then you're going to want to kind of be aware. You could listen to this replay tomorrow, not like pump it in over and over again. You're going to want to give it some space, because what's going to happen are typically two things. You're inside of your consciousness, you're going to have a shift and have a new awareness as one of the outcomes that happens when I do these, that's intended. So now you have cleared that belief and it got replaced with the positive, which was the second half. And then another outcome is the synchronicity, whether it's like somebody reaching out to you, or it's all of a sudden you go to your web guy, or you change it on your own website, you raise your rates, and you have one new client as soon as you raise the rates.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a synchronicity that happens. And I'm not kidding. When people join Magic Manifestation and Money Flow, my signature program, it's evergreen. So you all can join anytime if you go to my website at vibrationalupgrade.com. It's a 4-figure investment because of all that you receive. And I had a woman who was hosting a summit that I was on. She joined, and within that first day, and then continuing on that first week, she kept receiving unexpected money and income. And she's a coach. And I've heard that over and over and over again. So there's also some support that, I mean, if we're getting commanded to go through our greatest evolutionary leap, God bless the divine. It sounds kind of weird, but God bless God is really kind of what I said. But thank you, because like the design is, we're getting all this supportive cosmic alignments, planetary alignments, to help us with like the bravery and the courage to make new choices and move beyond what we've previously known, whether that's to help use more fuel that is naturally sourced rather than fossil fuel, or it's to help us reach more people with something that we do that's helping people expand, enlighten, or anything in between. Like, we're being given supportive energies. The vibrational backdrop we're living in is for us to expand, enlighten, and grow positively. So it's not like, so a lot of the work I do in Magic Manifestation in particular is I activate your field to be able to connect in more with what I call the field of unlimited possibilities. And again, this is based on science. Like the Tao, it's every animate and inanimate object has life force flowing through it. The trees, the rocks, the birds, the bushes, the crystals, us. And so learning how to connect in with that greater field, which I do for you, to allow in more of that support and more of the possibilities. It has you doing less of that making it happen gig and efforting gig, and allows you to use more of your energy systems, natural help, rather than coming all from your mind and all from your force of will to make stuff happen. It's just meant to be a lot easier than we're currently programmed to believe.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Yeah. And it's like the in essence, a lot of what we are programmed to do is, like you said, just grind. And you don't usually take the time to do some of these practices to kind of get into more of an alignment with your higher self and do more meditation, yoga, things that could be more beneficial. If we rocked it in that area, all the other things will come a lot easier.
Well, Omar, I'm going to say this, and it's not, please don't ego. I know you won't do this, Omar, but you guys, this is from a genuine place of truth. I have been a meditator for decades. I've taught it. The work that I do speeds up the results from meditation. I'm also a yoga teacher, so you can get open and you can feel better. But like when I taught a weekly yoga class, which I did for up to 10 years, I had a woman who was a business owner come to my class for the first time. And then the next week she came back and she's like, oh my God, Dr. Alison, I went home and I was so juiced. I stayed up for hours later than my normal bedtime. I've had an 8-year problem in my business that all of a sudden I had an idea to resolve. So when I hear hosts want to sum it up in these quick, and everybody does this, because we're also used to social media. What I want to say is, if you go into a yoga practice or you think if you do more yoga, you're going to get to where I talked about, it's going to take so much longer if you ever get there. So I don't want you to think if you throw yourself into a new yoga practice that all of a sudden you're going to have what I'm talking about. If you come and work with me, you will, because it's intended to do that. So I'm not necessarily marketing myself as much as I don't want people set up with false expectations that it's only about connecting with your inner world and aligning, and then you'll get there. I mean, there's expertise I have and there's expertise other people have to be able to use and shape energy and consciousness in a particular way to get you the results faster. So I just don't want people to be disappointed or go out there and say, okay, let me go back to that law of attraction stuff I used to use, and it doesn't work in their first month and you give up and then you're even more frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. No, that's a good takeaway. Absolutely.
Like, it's not a 5-minute YouTube sound healing for get there,
No, absolutely not. Yeah, no, I think, as the audience listens and I'm getting to know them all over the course of the years, I think that we are under the understanding that there's nothing that is going to snap like that. And like you said, a 5-minute YouTube video, no way.
Okay, so the naivete is now gone. I'm so glad to hear it, Omar. So
yes.
I think COVID helped wipe that naivete out too.
Listen, Doc, you've been fantastic. I gotta have you back. I mean, there's so many questions that I literally had just 1 out of the 10 that I asked you, because we kind of were just rocking and rolling, which is great. And there's so many things that we could dive into. And yeah, you're a fascinating person, and all your history is something that I'm going to share with the audience in the intro, because that's a story in and of itself. But I do want to give you an opportunity to just tell us how we can get in touch with you, your social media handles, your website, where we can get this program. I'm sure, I know it's on the website and stuff, but yeah, anything that we could keep abreast of all the good stuff that you're doing.
Hey, thank you for that. VibrationalUpgrade.com is my website. Vibrational Upgrade free Facebook community. I have a 1 L in my first name, Alison, then my middle initial J, and then my last name, Kay. That's my Amazon, my 4 books on Amazon, and then YouTube I'm on under my name as well, not Vibrational Upgrade on YouTube, but Alison J. Kay. I have to use a middle initial because there's an Alison Kay who writes about stuff and sells her books on Amazon. It has no resonance with what I do. So there you go. And then the signature program I was talking about, particularly geared towards entrepreneurs. If you go to my website, you look at the Work With Me tab, under it, go to programs. And I can actually move you quicker in magic, manifestation, and money flow than if you were to see me for one-on-ones, because I can get to more aspects of you with the way the program is designed. So I know a lot of people still think one-on-ones are the way to go. Not necessarily, unless you're a one-on-one person, you like the white gloves and red carpet. But I don't give a lot of one-on-ones anymore. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it just speaks to the way that you design the program too, so I think that's one of the things that I recognize too, just in this space. Like, there's nothing wrong with an evergreen program as long as it addresses what you're looking for. So, and it's put together well. I've got a lot out of those as well.
I've been surprised, frankly.
Yeah.
It was like, I really surrendered to my guidance and asked, okay, so the chakra system, I have a signature product, the Chakra Gem audio series on my website, and people have been loving and raving about it for years. And it's so I put it into the Magic Manifestation and Money Flow program. And I was asking my guidance, okay, what's the best order to put this in for manifesting? And I was really surprised by the order. And after I got it and I saw that it made sense. And it's the same thing for what I put in each of the modules. It's like the program created itself through me. It's bloody brilliant. I'm not going to take credit for it.
Totally. Well, you unlock something, so you got to get a lot of credit just for being able to do that. So yeah, listen, you've been fantastic. I really appreciate all the time you spent with us today, and look forward to connecting again.
Me too, Omar. Thank you.
All right, have a great rest of the night.
You too. Bye.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.